Welcome to Playful Beginnings, a podcast about the magic of play therapy for therapists, students, and anyone interested. In our podcast, we'll explore the deeper understanding of play therapy and the skills we use when working with children.
We hope to help you understand the why behind what we do and how it helps kids heal and grow. I'm Dr. Kristie Opiola, a working play therapist and university professor in North Carolina.
I'm Dr. Maggie Parker, a play therapist and professor in DC. Good morning, Christie.
Good morning, Maggie.
I guess it's not technically morning. I guess it's afternoon.
Today we're recording in the afternoon, but you guys will hear this in the morning.
Yes. Are you also random? Are you eating gummy worms? Because now I really want gummy
worms. I am.
I saw
sour worms.
Oh, that looks good.
I know, they're my guilty pleasure. I love sour gummy worms.
Oh my gosh, my children.
They're crawlers. Mm-hmm.
So yummy. Yeah.
I really love any gummy candy, to be honest, but
I love a jelly bean and gummy bears. You don't jelly beans?
I love gummy bears.
Oh, Christie.
I know. They're not my favorite.
Interesting.
I don't know. They're just not my favorite.
Yeah, I get it. It's now I really want candy. Anyways, so
I'm sorry.
This looks so good. What do I have upstairs? Where have my children? Molly hoards her candy and puts it in her safe so Rhodes won't get it.
She has a safe?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
She keeps her money. Mm-hmm. Girlfriend loves to hold on to her stuff. So
mine's in a ball jar sitting on my counter for everyone to see. So if anyone robbed my house, my extra cash is just sitting there.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
there's not normally money in it, but right now there is.
I'll come over then. I'll just stop by to get some gummy worms.
Okay.
And some cash.
Yep.
Cool.
There you go.
Well, it's good to see you. I'm excited to
see you as well.
Chat with you today.
I know. I'm excited about this topic.
Yeah, I think so. For our listeners, we've done a pretty large series on CCPT with autism spectrum disorder. Yes. And I hope that was helpful. I've received a lot of feedback from it that it was helpful. So
me too.
I'm really glad that we were able to offer that. And so today we were going to pivot a little bit, but I think there's some overlap, potentially always, because we're going to talk about CCPT and schools. And so often, whether you're in the schools or not, you as a practitioner are connecting in some way to the school system. Yes. And you and I have both worked in the schools in different capacities, lots of different capacities. You were a preschool teacher.
I was a preschool teacher at a Montessori school. So I've taught in that way, but I've also done play therapy in schools, both public and private, and charter schools. So kind of different dynamics at each of them, providing play therapy services and overseeing a play therapy program. Here in North Carolina, when I first started, we had 2 charter schools that we provided full-time play therapy services to. In maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago, one of them closed. And so now I've been overseeing one since my first year here. So oversee kind of full-time. And I actually was the first clinician out there providing services to try to figure out how to make this work. What do we need to do? All that good stuff. So you and then I've worked closely with teachers too.
Yes.
How about you?
Well, yeah. So I was going to say too, part of what you've done is then set up the playroom and figure all that out. So that's really, I haven't been as involved in that way, but I was a school counseling specialty, actually not a play therapy specialty in my doctoral program. And so I provided counseling services in the school as the school counselor, but also as someone coming in and providing child-centered play therapy, but I wasn't as heavily involved in that. So I would see clients there. And then I helped a preschool try and help out within their play therapy services and kind of set up the room in that way. And then also did some CTRT at a lower income Title I, maybe it was Head Start program, I think.
Yes, I think it was a Head Start.
Yeah.
Was it at North Texas?
Yeah.
It's a Head Start.
Yeah. And then since I've been here, I've worked with school counseling programs, but less so providing services within the school. So I'm kind of involved more so as a practitioner, supporting students or my clients in their IEP meetings.
Yeah.
Kind of different ways that I've had my hand in that pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I feel I've hit some of those same pots as well. along
Yeah.
the years. The other thing I think is interesting is some of the schools, they have a designated playroom. So the materials are all there. And then one of the schools, the private schools that I serviced when I was in Texas in practice, we actually brought in a portable play kit. So the
Yeah.
setup looks a little different and helping to designate space that's private, consistent, predictable for kids.
Yeah.
Took a little time to figure out, but it can, so play therapy can work in a lot of different ways in schools.
Yes. And I think that was something too of working with some of my students who became school counselors. I would supervise them as they were doing play therapy. And it was, how can we set up your office so that you can provide play therapy services and child centered the way you want to, also having to adhere with some of the things that you have in your office. There are all sorts of different things that I think in the school system you have to think about that you don't necessarily have to think about in those same capacities within agency or a private practice setting.
Yes.
Computers in your office. That was a big one. It's like,
Yeah,
how do
or
you
what
set the computer
materials you can
away?
have on your shelf. I
Right.
mean, some schools have a hardcore. One of the schools we worked with was absolutely no aggressive toys,
None?
which was really interesting. Well, very limited aggressive toys, which was very interesting to kind of navigate around.
So, because I've heard a lot of schools that won't allow for toy guns, but what else are
Hmm.
they not allowing in your space?
Army, yeah, a lot of the no handcuffs, no army men, no guns, no knives. They were okay with the mask.
Yeah.
They had mixed feelings about the bop bag, but I think I mean, I ultimately convinced them to keep the bop bag, but I had to get really creative.
Yeah. How'd you do that?
Well, I consulted with a few different people and added items in other areas that could look or be used aggressively. A hair dryer, same shape as a gun. I wasn't allowed to have the metal handcuffs, but I did convince them to do the rubber handcuffs, and they felt better about that. But no rope, no.
No rope, even.
But I could put a jump rope
I
in.
was gonna say,
But
did you
they
get a
had to
jump?
have the handles, which those are more dangerous than what I would have put
Hurt.
in there. But that's okay. Yeah, because they can hurt.
Yeah.
No swords, not even pool noodles, because I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know if people have ever used pool noodles. You can cut a pool noodle in half
Yeah.
and you can tape off a small base to make it look like a handle. So that could also be a weapon. But I think the principal was on to me when I started suggesting alternatives.
No, wait a second. I
Because she
figured this
thought
out.
real hard about the hair dryer. I don't know. I was like, it's a hair dryer. Girls, they have to get their hair done. In particular, your children of color, which the school was 90% children of color. We
Interesting.
even put an iron in there to just complete the set, a little bow iron.
Okay. Did you
Because some,
notice any
go
differences
ahead.
in how they played?
Yes. We did also do one of the little wooden peg toy where you hammer the wooden peg. So we were able to add that as an aggressive release toy. We didn't call it that, but I was trying to get different ways that kids could express themselves. It's just, it was sad to me because in a school before having all of those things, kids had played out things that were happening currently in society. Maggie, do you remember when that father was killed with his toddler or preschooler in the back seat of his car? It was a black man, got stopped for having a light out or something in his back
Yeah.
of a car, and then it got really escalated really quick. And at a lot of the schools that I work here, they tend to be Title I schools, meaning that lower income, higher need, more children of color than maybe some of the traditional schools in different communities. And so I don't know how many kids played that out in the playroom, but without the materials, how do you play it out? Do you
Right.
know
Well,
what I
'cause
mean?
it's a
Like,
real threat as the color that's a significant thing that they're probably
yeah, it
conversations that
was,
they're having at
and
home, that they're hearing on the news, that they're
yeah, and one of the kids we called the parent for. And she said that the kid had been beside themselves the last week because I guess a week ago their parent got pulled over by a cop.
and so they
And
were
so, and it was after the incident, and the kiddo just cried the whole time, screaming, please don't hurt my parent. Please don't hurt my parent. Please don't kill my parent. And so the parent was really grateful when we called and told them that they were kind of working through this. And we just didn't know if it was strictly from TV watching and maybe limiting kind of what they were seeing because it was on all the news stations and other stuff. And the mom had said, no, no, actually, we went through this. I mean, nothing happened. The police officer could not be nicer, but the child was very affected by it. And so, just being mindful of those things. Well, when you take those things out of the playroom, children get robbed of opportunities. They can try to creatively find things, but they work so hard to creatively find ways. But when the
Hmm.
materials are in there, it's easier for them to be able to play out, right? What they're seeing, what they're experiencing in the world. And so,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, kids are creative. Kids will
Yeah.
find ways to play out what they need to. It just may not be as obvious to us because what may be obvious to us is very metaphorical and we're not seeing the nitty-gritty of actually what's getting played out.
Yeah.
I may not have good concept to what's getting played out yet.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. But so did you
So
notice that they were able to creatively use different materials and ways to express themselves? Did you notice that maybe it took longer? That's
it
interesting.
took longer. It took longer for kids to find ways to play things out. And really, the school that I was working with was really cautious of what I could add to the playroom. So you would have had to work a lot harder
Yeah.
to
To find
find
anything.
ways.
Did they allow for kind of aggressive animals?
Yes, I could have aggressive animals.
That's helpful at least.
The other thing that I didn't get as much say as how the playroom was set up. So I think some of the things inhibited kids from getting access to some of the toys. So they were on
Mhm.
taller shelves.
Yeah.
A designer came in and designed the playroom. So it was not always play therapy friendly, which is something I've experienced both when I worked in healthcare and in
Yeah.
schools. In a new opening of a school, they want it to be visually very appealing. So they hire design companies who really don't understand the therapeutic process. And
Hmm.
so it was a lot of having to rework and helping understand why the setup is different and kind of push back a little bit. And
Like
then
no
it was
one
fine. You
really
set it
made
up
this.
and then we'll reset it up. But that was also hard to do because
Yeah.
it was not the smoothest
Yeah. I think sometimes it's
process.
hard to get people to kind of understand what it is that we do.
Hmm.
I forget if it was when I think it was when we were presenting together at UNC Charlotte. We were presenting, and Dr. Post was talking about how she encourages school counselors or anybody doing play in the schools, because she's done that a lot too, of getting
Yeah.
the shelves that have wheels on them that can close up so you can, if you have to move from one room or the other, which I found to be really helpful. And then also you have to think and be cognizant about, then those shelves probably aren't the safest unless you can lock them to climb on, because a lot of times kids want to climb on the shelves. And I found that
Yeah.
really outside of our time in the playrooms, University of North Texas, there haven't been many shelves that or any sort of playroom furniture that I felt super comfortable in the same way that I did there because of the quality.
I think securing to the wall, but a lot of
That, yeah,
schools, and it depends on the time the school was built, right?
right.
Old schools are cinder block, which is
Mm-hmm.
really hard to kind of
Secure and everything.
structurally nail into the walls. I mean, you need special screws and other stuff to make sure it securely sticks into the cinder block. And then, some of those schools are more trailer-esque, so
Mm-hmm.
the walls are not sturdy enough to really secure. So you kind of have to be mindful
Be really careful. Yeah.
of how you do
One
set
of
up.
the one of the schools that I provided play therapy in, the room was in the janitor's closet, and there was a bathroom there. And that was,
Oh,
yeah, that was fun.
in the
When
playroom?
it was in the back, but I guess it was a hidden little bathroom.
Hmm.
And so it wasn't in the playroom. You wouldn't have really noticed it, but someone came in during our session to use the bathroom. And it was very uncomfortable. And I was
Yeah.
like, now is not for doing that. And they're like, yep. And they just walked in to the bathroom. So I'm looking at this child, and it was very early on in my career. And so I was really young and I didn't feel comfortable setting that really firm boundary. No, you can't do this right now. It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, but you will find that. I know at one of the schools that we were at here in North Carolina, it wasn't our room, but another room had a bathroom in the back, and it was the staff bathroom. So people came in and out all the time. And it was an option for us for the playroom. But then they said, I think you might get interrupted a lot. Of, yeah, that's not going to work. Though I will say, when we were at North Texas, one of our playrooms had a bathroom. There were two playrooms that had bathrooms
Mhm.
in them, which is a whole different conversation that we can
Yeah.
have. Because there's a lot of liability and other stuff you have to be thoughtful of when you have a bathroom in the playroom. I mean, it's great because kids never have to leave to use the potty, but
Yeah.
then you also have a bathroom in the playroom.
It was awkward too.
It could be,
We could
right?
do a whole episode on how awkward it was.
We could do something on, play therapy challenges with space and
bodily fluids.
uh-huh.
There could be a lot there. But yeah, so and I think so part of what you're talking about is when you're able to go into the school and create that space. And then if you're not, it's how can you have conversations with the faculty and staff to indicate,
It's really
hey,
administration, right? That you need to have the most conversations with about designated space. Because right now we're in the gym. We are
oh,
in a closet in the gym. It's not
oh,
the
a
most
closet,
ideal space. No, I think it was once a ball storage room
ballroom.
in the gymnasium. It's loud, it's disruptive. For a while, we had a different room in a portable that was surrounded by classrooms, but because noise control was such an issue, they
Mhm.
moved us back to the gym, though it's not ideal.
Well, I'm sure it would be so distracting if there's
It
a
can
gym.
be because sometimes balls hit the door suddenly
It's
and
like
kids know we're
terrifying.
in there. Oh, yeah, it scares the heebie-jeebies out of me when that happens. I jump. And so do the kids in the room.
Right. Think about if they've had any sort of trauma, how scary that would be. Wow.
Yeah, but then kids will also stand outside the door and yell into the door because they know we're in there. So there are challenges to all of these spaces that you just have to be thoughtful of. I've heard of playrooms in the administration offices, right? Which also then feels kids are getting in trouble. So it is kind of chatting around, trying to figure out what would be the best option. And sometimes you don't have any good options,
Or even like
so
it,
you pick the least evil of all the options to
right.
go with.
Well, and some of the spaces had huge windows into the room from, so you could see inside the room from not just outside, but inside the building.
Mhm.
And so making sure, there's all sorts of things that you can do to work around that. They have those films that you can put on the windows if they'll let you, or even just curtains. But
Or
thinking,
just I've just taken butcher paper
yeah,
and put butcher paper tall enough that we could still get some sunlight, but you can't get all the way through. And then I just roll it back up at the end of the day and roll it back up the next week. So it just stays in the room and is part of the materials that we use.
hmm, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Christie. As always, it's
Thanks,
lovely.
Maggie.
Please
Yes.
go ahead and follow us on social media. We're trying to put out stuff that's helpful for you guys. If you join or sign up, I send a newsletter each week that's pretty detailed on CCPT and expands a lot on the topics that we're looking at. And hopefully we can start offering some more supports. And you can always email us to tell us if you have a topic or a guest that you think would be really cool. Let us know and we'll work to do that. So,
And I know some people have put out some really big names.
oh
We can
yeah.
try, but
Who
we're
have they
just
put
regular
out?
people in the play therapy community.
Yeah.
And so know that too. We can try, but we may or may not be able to get everyone to come on. So
Yeah. Our reach is not, yeah. Though, I mean,
endless,
yeah, I mean, if Bruce Perry, if you're listening, I would love to talk to you.
right?
Wouldn't that be fun? Actually, I would really love to do research with you as well. So, yeah. But, anyways, well, thank you, Chrissy, so much. I appreciate you, and I will see you next week.
Sounds good. Don't forget to subscribe below. Bye, y'all.
Bye.